I'm going to start off with some letters of concern. And I read these. I've sent them to Lotus through the years. People started noticing she was not herself. And again, I'm not sure what the diagnosis is. It's not up to me to do that. I can only talk about the actions. And I would hope she'd go to an expert who could offer her some suggestions on getting well. I've offered that a number of times, rehabilitation. She agreed to go to the kids when I call her Lysol. When Lysol came by, she actually made a commitment. Kids have brought it up in therapy before, what a disappointment it is. She lies to the children. It's just, I don't understand how this person of great character could take this veer off into she's just following this cult leader who is a liar. Just a pathological liar. Just here's what it looks like, and here's what my life is. Here's a quote from Broke. So they went away to this Australia trip. And none of the money comes from anything that they're making. They actually steal money from me. Metaverse or whatever it's called. No, it was the Hyperverse. It was another investment. She lied to me and told me that Brooke wasn't involved and Brooke was at the top of it. So they ripped me off for that. I never saw the paperwork. Just so many things, just stealing. And for her to do that it's just unfathomable. I can't say that word. Unfathomable. If I say it slow. So here's Broke. This is just what she does. She just unloads this diarrhea that comes out of her, thinking that other people are interested. And she hardly has any followers, by the way. Unfortunately, this guy, his wife followed this whole thing. They got divorced, and other people have had difficulties in their marriages because this is what she encourages, to follow her in places like this. They go away to this, which was also paid for by her husband, and this was paid for by this hardworking husband. Why is that so demeaned? And why is that not honored? That we honor these commitments of supplying the money for the family. And why can't you be honorable in return and talk about business plans and discuss? It's a partnership. It's only a partnership, though, on their terms. And legally, I remember talking to my lawyer, so you sound like a misogynist. I was trying to say to him, hey, man, this doesn't seem right at all. She can just do whatever she wants. And I went to Australia with my full support. I had no idea it would end up like this. So with Broke making these Instagram posts. And when I left my 20-year relationship, she does a lot of capitals. I'll tell you each capital. 10 months ago, because she has to capitalize to emphasize, to me, whistling in the dark. She doesn't really believe these things. She has to tell herself to believe these things. I remember with my former wife before, with the false allegations, I said to my two older children, I said, well, the oldest one, I said, do you really think she believes this when her head hits the pillow? Does she really believe that I did any of these things? And he said, I'll never forget. He goes, she has to. She's that far deep into it, and it's brought other people into it. And I believe it's the same thing with Lotus. So deep into it, so filled with guilt and shame, even guilt and shame going back to Broke. If she's ever going to work something out, if she was to work something out with me, then the Broke would disown her, because she had to follow this woman who says, when I left my 20-year relationship 10 months ago, I was done, capital done, with partnership. I truly wanted nothing more than to explore, have my autonomy, have lots of fun sex for the first time ever. How do you think her husband feels about that, her ex-husband now? Ever. She's never had good sex in her entire life. Why'd you get married? Why'd you have children? What were you telling him? What kind of ruse were you into? What kind of lies were you telling? And that's what happened with Lotus, with me. Make my own effing decisions and be a sovereign woman, calling my own shots. 4 exclamation points. And I did exclamation point and capitalize. I had my first ever, all caps, one night stand in Australia at 48 years old. Oh my God, it was revolutionary for me. And so, capital fun, exclamation point, snuck out of the hotel room at 6 a.m. with my cloths in hand. Misspelled that. Let me just tell you something. This phony is an idiot, by the way. It's not the only misspelling. She's an idiot. But she comes across as smart. I just watched a video of her. Yeah, I do my research. Stupid. And comes up with these clever words that's what they do. That's what these wellness grifters do. They come up with some buzzwords. She says, I saw in the movies and with the jumping up and down like a schoolgirl, so proud of my courage and ability to finally, all capitals, play 5 exclamation points and some emojis. Proud that she couldn't try to work harder on her relationship, which she brought 2 children into the world. Do it for them. Try. So it's not about you folks. It's not about selfish. Once you bring the children in, yeah, be selfish all you want if the children are involved. But they are. And what Lotus did and what this woman did is generational trauma you're causing. It's a patterning that the kids will now not think that it's important to commit to a relationship, not think that it's important to work harder and really do everything you can do, rather than just this diatribes that she does to justify her actions. Giving myself effing permission. She just throws, permission to follow. I'm not saying the word because I'm trying to be a little clean here. Follow my bliss, all capitals, no one else's rules to adhere to. Do you really? I know her husband. There are no rules. That's a lie. Just tell yourself these lies. And with the Bally, ended up meeting an Italian who barely spoke English. It just goes on and on. For her kids to read, for their peers to read and embarrass them. It doesn't matter to people who are selfish. Same with my ex. Doesn't care. She does these, now she copies broken, does these posts. Whistling in the dark. She knows when her head hits the pillow, as I said to my oldest son when it was about his mom, she has to believe it now because she's so far in. And my hope was, I don't know if it still is, that someone intervenes and says, hey, shakes her and just goes, stop. Go back to your spiritual practice. This is not spiritual practice. She's in yoga. Of course, she's in yoga. She does breath work. She does tapping. She does all this stuff that sounds like, come on, goddesses. We'll call each other goddesses and these women's groups and stuff like that. Well, I want to ask anyone that goes to these groups, what purpose are you serving? Are you serving the purpose of a whole, of a family, of all those things you committed to bring these people into, sign a soul contract? Is that the purpose you're signing, or are you just after your selfish needs? And those selfish needs have to do with you'll lie, cheat, and steal. Doesn't matter. No values, no ethics. Are ethics important anymore? Are they important to anyone? I'm not saying I'm the most ethical guy in the world, the most moral guy in the world, but I work at it really strong. And if I get in a position, I end up apologizing or backing up or being accountable, or being responsible. It doesn't exist with these egomaniacs. Doesn't exist. They can't admit they're wrong. And those 2 are 2 of them. I remember one time she actually followed my path because I make a lot of amends and it's part of my life, the surrendering and the ego and all that kind of stuff. I filed for divorce from my ego, one of the best things I ever did in my life. I imagine myself signing these papers. This guy did an intervention on me, another courageous guy who called me, and I answered the phone. And I just knew, for some reason, I knew that he wasn't going to praise me, which he had before. And he said, what's with your ego? And I just gulped, and he said, other people say, and I gulped again. And that some vision, some voice said to him, just file for divorce from your ego. Just let go. And surrender is the greatest victory. I've had it happen so many times. Every time I do this surrendering, I feel amazing. And this broke is talking about pride on acting selfishly, pride on cheating, pride on not honoring commitments. Pride, that's what she says. I'm proud of myself. I took care of myself. There are other ways to take care of yourself and still be honorable. She doesn't know what it means. She just justifies it all the way. No character. These are people of bad character. My ex turned into a bad character. Just bad character. I ask her all the time. I have long emails. That's what I'm guilty of that. Guilty of long text messages. I just think someday that some Jesus is going to go, whoa, this is a lot. I have been conned. I have been frauded. And I must go back to myself. I don't want her to return to the marriage. It's done. It's broken. It's gone. I could never trust her ever again. I do want her to have respect for me and show that to the children. I do want her to apologize so that the children see that. I want them to see an example. One time we were going to, this is when we were pretty much new into the thing, separation, divorce, a couple years ago, and I had a plan to go to Maui with the kids, and she had already had her time with them. It was Christmas break. She had our two young kids, and now it was my turn. She happened to be in Maui. And on the way over, I will admit, I was in first class and the kids were in coach. I'm going to admit that right now. I'm a jerk. I travel a lot, long legs, over 6'2". I got to have the leg room, all right? So the kids have tiny legs. They don't care. I went back and fed them some of my first class food. But on the way to Hawaii, to Maui, I had arranged to stay at this incredible resort, like a high-end resort right on the water in Waimea. And I just thought of this. The sad thing was, it was blocks away from where I was married to Lotus. This beautiful wedding on the beach, barefoot in white with leis, with my friend Kelly doing the honor of our vows, which we wrote. And I cried. And in retrospect, she didn't cry. Maybe she was fooling me the whole time. I don't know. It just seemed like a beautiful wedding, a union. Some of her family was there, some weren't. I could get into a whole other thing, what happened with the family and my theories, but I'll try not to. And it really was beautiful. And just, so here I am, just a few blocks away at this resort with the children. But on the way, a voice came inside of me, because I do have many methods and just pathways that I've taken and directions, and I take direction and I listen to some and don't listen to others. And I go away from my ethereal self and divine self and go into ego and, all of that comes up. Anger, resentment, pissed off. It just goes everywhere. I've said before, I'm stuck between namaste and kiss my ass. That's where I live. Philly and California. So this is blend. Embrace you and mace you. And let you in. So on the way over, I do pray, meditate, listen, conscious, all of that. I do. I'm in a mindfulness group on every Sunday. That was actually the leader of that group is the one who did my intervention on, hey. And I filed for divorce. He didn't mention that, but I said, I'm going to do that. That was a voice. And then this voice happened on my way over. I'm sitting there. I turned to this my neighbor and I said, can I borrow a pen? I pulled out paper, blank paper. And I said, God, I call God, and I've called Big G. That's kind of what I say, Big G. It's my thing. It could be Christ consciousness, whatever it is.